Good morning students of class 9. Today we are going to discuss two topics: significance of 26th January and implementation of the constitution. Okay, we have discussed in the previous video that our constitution came into effect on 26th January 1950. Okay, so why 26th January was chosen for the implementation of the constitution. Okay, so let's discuss the importance of the date. 26th January is of great importance in our freedom struggle. At the annual session of Congress in 1929 at Lahore, it was decided that on 26th January 1930, the Congress would celebrate the Purna Swaraj Day, Complete Independence Day. Yes, and from then till 1947, we Indians celebrated 26th January as Independence Day. But after the independence, we started 15th August as Independence Day. Okay, and we have started celebrating Republic Day on 26th January. Okay, so that's why in the history the date 26th January is of great importance. Yes, because first time Independence Day was celebrated on 26th January 1930. Yes, but as we discussed that on 15th August we got independence, so later on we started celebrating 15th August as Independence Day, and due to the importance of 26th January, we decided to celebrate our Republic Day on 26th January. So it's very easy, we all know it. And one more thing, it was given in our book that till the general election which held in 1951 to 52, okay, the Constituent Assembly acted as the parliament. Yes, because after election the representatives got elected and then they started running the government. Yes, but before the election of 1951, the Constituent Assembly, which actually made the constitution, they just acted as the parliament for our country. Okay, so that this part was left in the previous topic, so I just said here. Now we are going to discuss about implementation of the constitution. So as we just discussed that on 26 November 1949 we adopted our constitution, but on 26 January 1950 our constitution came into effect, and when it came into effect, from then only our country became a sovereign, socialist, democratic republic country. Yes, sovereign we have already discussed in the previous video that the total authority to rule within the territory. Yes, that part we have discussed, and in the internal and external matters of a country only we people are enabled to decide what to do, not to do. No other interference, no other country could interfere in our internal or external matter. So with its implementation, with coming into effects of constitution, we become sovereign. Okay. Then we also become secular and socialist. Secular means where all the religions are treated equally. Yes, our country is not an Islamic or any Christian country. Our country is secular country, where all countries are treated equally. There is not just one any official religion of our country. Though the Hindus are in majority, but we have not decided to make our country a Hindu country. This is the beauty of our constitution, our people, that we respect all the religions, and that's why we made our country a secular country. Yes. Then socialist. There are two terms, capitalism and socialism. Okay. So capitalism favors the capitalists, the people, the individuals who had money, yes, who owns money. And socialism is for the betterment of all the sections of the society, including the poor. Yes, as we all know that democratic country in the modern world are based on political equality, that is right to vote, that is given to all without any discrimination. Yes, but equality can only be brought when there will be political as well as economical and as well as social equality. Yes, so socialism especially talks about, it says about economical and social equality. Okay, so to bring equality in true manner, our constitution has recognized the principle of socialism. Yes, there are many weaker sections in our country economically and socially. So to bring them on a single platform equally to the rich people and upper classes, yes, we have just decided to make our country a socialist country. And these two terms, socialism and secular, were added in our constitution in 1976 by 42nd Amendment. When the constitution was adopted, came into being, at that time these two words were not used in our constitution. Okay, in 1976 by 42nd Amendment these two words were added, so it is very important. Then we also become democratic and republic country. Republic we have explained in the first video. Democracy we all know. Okay, so these two terms we have already discussed. Okay, next, in this way we became socialist, democratic republic, sovereign, secular state with the adoption of constitution. And also the constitution provided the people of India justice, freedom and equality. Yes, so with coming into effect of constitution, our country just became this that we have discussed, and it also provided equality, freedom and justice to all. So this is the importance of our constitution. Okay, next thing we are going to discuss about the sources of our constitution. It is very important. Our country has taken the rules from the constitution of different countries. Yes, our constitution is not the original one, we can say. Many things we have taken from other countries' constitution and we just took them and put into our constitution. Okay, and we all know that our constitution is the longest written constitution of the world. So it is also very important, the longest written constitution of the world. So we were talking about the sources. Yes. So the first important thing is that there is great impact of British constitution on our Indian constitution, because we all know that Britain ruled over us for many times, for many years, and they made different rules at that time. And when we became free, when we became independent from them, we just took many of the rules that were made by the Britishers directly into our constitution. And there is one act, Government of India Act of 1935. There are many things in that, there are many rules in that act, and most of the rules we have taken from that act that was made by Britishers, and just we have taken put into our constitution. Okay. For example, parliamentary form of government. We have taken this, we have adopted this form of government by the constitution of, from the constitution of Britain. So we can say that in India there is parliamentary form of government. So this form of government we have just taken from, we were inspired by the constitution of British and we have taken from them, and that's why we are practicing parliamentary form of government. Actually there are two forms of government, parliamentary form of government and presidential form of government. Parliamentary form of government, in this the Prime Minister becomes the head of the government. He actually exercises all the power. Yes, but in presidential form of government that is practiced in America, the role that our Prime Minister plays in our country, in the government, the same thing, the same role plays in America by the president. Yes, so in America president is all in all, he is responsible for the government, and in India, in Britain, the Prime Minister is just responsible for the running of the government. Okay, so there are two forms of government, presidential and parliamentary. So we have decided that we will adopt parliamentary form of government from the British's constitutions. We have taken it. So one source we have just seen that we have taken it from British government. The next source of our constitution, we were also inspired by the Constitution of America. Yes, and the separation of power among the organs of the government, like legislature, executive and judiciary. We have discussed it in the first video that all these three organs are equally powerful. Okay, and that's why it is called check and balance system. We have already discussed. Okay, so the government had divided its power among its three organs. Okay, with among legislature, executive and judiciary, so that no single organ could exercise paramount power. Okay, no single organ could misrule its power. That's part we have already discussed in the first video in detail, so no need to discuss right now much. Okay, so this system, this division of power among the government organs of government, we have taken from the Constitution of America. Yes, So definitely there is impact of American Constitution on our Constitution, on our Indian Constitution. Next, like there is provision of Supreme Court in our Constitution in our country, we can see. So this we have also taken from the Constitution of America. Okay, so we have discussed two: parliamentary form of government from Britain, separation of power among various organs of government, and Supreme Court from America. Yes, so two we have discussed. Next thing we are going to discuss about the Canada. From the Constitution of Canada, we have also adopted some of the things and which are very important actually. The first thing is that federalism with a strong center. Federalism with a strong center. We discussed in the first video what is federalism. Federalism means sharing of power. Yes. So power is shared in our country between center and states. Yes. There is central government, that is the government for the entire country. Yes. And there are separate governments in different states also. So there is no just centralized government in our country. There is no just one government in our country. Our government, our constitution has shared its power with its various constituent units. Yes. So while power is shared, we all know that if we do not share power, then conflicts start, and then it can undermine the integration, the unity of our country. That's why the power is shared. Okay. So between the state and central government, power is shared, but more power is with the central government. Yes. So the first thing that we said, that federalism with a strong center. Though we have given power to state governments, but central government has more power. Yes, that part we are going to discuss. The next thing we have taken from the Constitution of Canada, that is distribution of power between central and state government. Distribution, just we were discussing that power is shared between central and state government. So actually there are threefold distribution of power between central and state. First one, central list. Second one, state list, and the third one, concurrent list. Okay. So in central list there are many subjects, more subjects. Almost 99 subjects upon which only central government, national government can make rules. In state list there are 66 subjects upon which only state governments are supposed to make laws. Okay. And the third one is, it is very important, concurrent list. That we have taken, concurrent list, that we have taken from the Constitution of Australia. Concurrent list we have taken from the Constitution of Australia. Okay, so what is concurrent list? In this list there are also many subjects, and upon these subjects the central government as well as state government both can make laws. Okay. By mutual understanding they can make laws, central and state governments. But suppose there is any dispute, conflict, disagreement between central and state government. In that case, central government is supposed to make laws. Whatever central government is saying about any rule or law, the state governments are bound to follow the sayings of central government. So in this way we can say in concurrent list, though there is provision that both can make laws, but in case of dispute, central government has more power. Yes, so that's why we said that from Canada we have just discussed that the central government has more power. So just we can see by this discussion that in the threefold distribution of power, the central government has more subjects. In this regard also, in this way also, we can say central government is more powerful, more stronger. Yes, and just we have discussed that in current list, in case of dispute, the central government has the final say. So in this way, we can just understand that though we have shared power with the state governments, but still in our country the central government is more powerful. Okay, so concurrent list that we have taken from the Constitution of Australia. One more important thing we were discussing about the things that we have taken from actually the Constitution of Canada. Okay, so 2 points we have discussed. There is federal system but with a strong central government. Then distribution of power between central and state governments we have discussed. Okay, and one more thing we have taken from Constitution of Canada, that is residuary subjects. What is residuary subject? Residuary subject is actually those kind of subjects that is made by the central government. When our constitution came into being on 26 January 1950, at that time there were many subjects which were not included at that time in the constitution. Yes, like software, technology. These are recent phenomena. Okay, these are the subjects which came much later than the completion of constitution. Okay, so at that time there were only central list, state list and concurrent list. But what about the residuary list? The subjects like software and technology. So later on, these subjects were also given to the central government. It means that whatever the subjects are given in the residuary subjects, the central government is supposed to make law upon residuary subjects. So it is also very important. Please mark this. So in this way also we can say the central government has more power. Central government is more stronger than state governments in our country. Okay. Then we have taken in our constitution directive principle of state policy. Directive principle of state policy, it is also taken from the Constitution of Ireland. Yes, what is this? This we have to read in detail in this chapter, but only a few words I am saying about it here. That it is meant for state governments. Okay, while making laws and while implementing policies, the state governments or central governments, they are supposed to follow some of the principles that is given in the directive principle of state policy. Okay, these are not justicable. It means we cannot go into the court if a state is not following the principles of directive principle of a state policy. Okay, if the state governments are not following this, we cannot question, we cannot go into the court against the state government. Okay, it is up to the wish of the state governments whether they are following these principles or not. Okay, but it is made for the betterment of the society. It is made for the for making the welfare state. Directive principle is made for making our country a welfare state. It means all things should be provided to everyone. Okay, so this part we have discussed. Next, not much more we have. Every sources we have just discussed, that is given in our book. Okay, so parliamentary government from Britain. Then we have discussed separation of power among the organs of the government and Supreme Court from America. Then we discussed concurrent list from Australia, directive principle from Ireland, and federal system and distribution of powers between central and state. Yes, these are taken from Canada. So these are the sources, and by taking these beautiful things from the constitution of other countries' constitution, we have made our constitution a very we can say good one, better one than others. Yes. Next thing is that our constitution is called a living document. Why it is called a living document? It is a piece of paper, it is a document, and the paper is alive, non-living thing, but still we are saying that our constitution is a living document. Why? I think because there are provisions made in the constitution to keep it just alive. Okay, and how we have made it alive? That suppose we are doing changes in the constitution, because till the time 101 amendment means changes have been taken place in the constitution. And why changes have been taken place? With the time, everything changes. Yes, suppose the rules that were made in 1950, 1947, but if we compare that time to present time, many things have been changed. Okay, so just to keep it, just to make it update, just to update it, okay, we are changing it, because whatever the present scenario is in the country, we have to focus upon the present. Okay, and certain rules which have been made earlier, and according to that rule, the current situation is not being handled. Okay, so we have to make another rule, another law to maintain law and order. Yes, and while discussing some of the amendments, we will just understand that why change is necessary. Okay, and that's why there is provision that we can change our constitution, which is not like that once it is made, it is forever. It is not like so. We can upgrade our constitution, and with time our constitution has grown. We can say has grown. We can change itself. So that's why it is a living document. Okay, and some of the important amendments that have been done in the constitution we are going to discuss, and they are very, very important. The first one is 61st Amendment Act. Earlier the voting age was 21, but by 61st Amendment in 1989 the age was lowered, and now 18 years is fixed. The 18 year or those who are above 18 are entitled to give their vote. So just we have changed this. Next, by 73rd and 74th amendment in 1993 year is also important. We have made provision for panchayats and municipalities to look after the local affairs. Okay, we have made in the constitution. Yes, because only two governments were not sufficient to handle the administration efficiently. Earlier there were only central and state governments, but in 1993 by 73rd and 74th amendment, in urban areas we just made another form of government, that is called urban local self-government, that is municipality, and in rural area we formed panchayats, okay, to look after the affairs of the panchayats. Okay, so we have three tiers of government: central, state and local government, and in this way it has strengthened our democracy. Okay, the federalism has actually strengthened. Federalism is power, sharing of power, so power is shared now by these amendments, by the formation of local governments among as many as people. Okay, so that's why our democracy and federalism has been strengthened by making these governments local governments. Yes. Next, 86th amendment 2003, right to education. We all know that between 6 to 14 years age all children have the right to education. This has also been granted. Next, 93rd amendment. What it says that reservation for OBC, other backward classes, it was done in 2006. Other backward classes who were not in the position to just read and learn those many things, so they are also given a reservation in educational institutions. Okay, and the latest amendment, that is 101 amendment, and by which it was done in July 2017 in the regime of BJP government. The GST, goods and service tax, national common national market for goods and services. Yes, so by these amendments we can see that whenever we supposed to make new changes, whenever we supposed to implement new things as per the demands of current situation, we can change our constitution, and that's why we can say that our constitution is a living document. Okay, so in this way we have finished the topic. The next topics we will cover in the next video. Till then, goodbye, thank you.